So at one point, that was his goal. Glenn Beck was going to be the next Reverend Gene Scott. That was the bullet train towards his career. He was going to end up growing a big hillbilly beard, you know, end up looking a little bit like the grandpa on The Walking Dead season 2, the guy who got his head cut off. And you know, and then he went to Space Station Glenn, and now he's action figure Glenn and all that kind of stuff. And now he's just desperately trying to be an older, chubbier version of Russell Brand. I'm not kidding. Russell Brand and Glenn Beck basically have the same show. There's a slight accent difference. There's, you know, Glenn has the little space station radio show network. Russell shoots out the one window in his house that makes it look like he lives a rustic lifestyle instead of being rich beyond measure. You know, it's a show, isn't it? Right? And Russell's vocabulary is bigger. No, it isn't. No, it really isn't. He just does this, like, you know, kind of rough, bit stupid, you know, plays that part of his accent up, which is complete horseshit, in an attempt to make it, I'm just a regular guy like you. I think these things, and how can you not think these things? It's like common sense. And like, fuck off. Anyways, we'll get to him eventually. And by the way, I would like to remind you that, you know, a couple weeks ago, I was like, have you guys been paying attention to how Russell Brand is trying to be like the hippie Alex Jones? You guys will remember when I posted this. I did a little video showing some of what he was talking about. And since then, Pac-Man and the Daily Beast have done features on that very thing. You're welcome. That's all I want to say. Hi there, and glad to be of service. I'm Hal Sparks. You know, the guy who's always ahead of the curve. All right, so Glenn, this is Glenn Beck, and the reason I say this specifically about this particular clip, and you guys know I don't pre-watch these, so we'll see what happens. This one's called 7 Biden Failures, and he's got those in quotes, semi-quotes, that are by design to further the Great Reset. So again, this is the corner Republicans and especially Trumpist extremists have painted themselves into, because they tried the Biden is the head of an international crime family angle, and that didn't work. And they tried the Biden is a doddering old man who hides in his basement and can't do anything right, and that didn't work. So now they're trying to cross the streams. Cross the streams. And as we know, there is a very, very minor chance they might survive. But most of the time, it's a mistake. Crossing the streams is a mistake. But that's all they got. And so now the entire attack is Biden is an a doddering old man who can't put a sentence together, or who hides out in some basement or some fake set, but he's also a criminal mastermind. It's both. It's the chocolate and peanut butter of you know, pejorative personal characteristics. Yeah. So anyways, this is 7 failures that are on purpose. They're failing uphill, you know, like Trump did. It's the Peter principle if you turned it into a machine gun. Yeah, that's right. Biden equals doddering yet evil genius. Exactly.
Let me play cut 6.
Yeah, play cut 6, whatever that is. And by the way, if you're wondering why he has one earphone in and one earphone out, that's so he can hear the audience's applause. I'm kidding. He's in a room alone with Stu.
For you, this is Nancy Pelosi lecturing reporters yesterday.
Our latest CBS News poll shows that only about 10% of Americans describe themselves as knowing a lot of specific things that are in the reconciliation package, and that the majority don't know anything at all. So do you think you need to do a better job at messaging and going forward?
Wait a minute. This is I think I know where she's going to go with this. And I'll see if I can turn the audio up on this a little bit, but it's fairly crap. It's choppy on their end. I think she's going to go with, well, if you guys would tell people, it's not like we haven't posted what's in the damn thing. So if your readers, the people that respond to your polls don't know what's in something that you have access to, that you could tell them what's in it, whose fault is that?
Sell this if ultimately you have to.
Well, I think you all could do a better job of selling it, to be very frank with you, because every time I come here, I go through the list. Family medical leave, climate, the issues that are in there. And but it is true, it is hard to break through when you have such a comprehensive package.
So difficult to break through when you control the entire government and all of the media.
I know.
So hard.
Well, yes, that's what they do. They control the entire media. Again, this is they've transferred this doddering old man yet evil genius, the doddering old genius thing, not only to Biden, but to the Democratic Party. They're snowflakes who couldn't win any war that was in front of them, and yet they defeated Donald Trump through, some sort of massive scheme for volunteers to use panda shit ballots to sneak in there. And in the process, during Trump's presidency, the Democrats managed to seize control of like all big tech, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google, all that stuff, and all the media, all of it, including Fox News. Let's not forget, shame on Fox, right? Right, Mike Lindell? The Democrats, who apparently are weaklings who shouldn't be in charge of anything, control everything. Or they don't, and you have to make up that version of reality to cover for the fact that that's an indefensible position.
To get your messaging
I
out
know,
there.
it really is. Okay, so let me let me go through a few things. These are not failures.
Let me go through a few things that I have written on this piece of paper that is what we have tested as far as what our audience wants to hear.
Are intended, and they are intended to bring you to a reset, the Great Reset.
Yes. Let me keep, by the way, the Great Reset is the next big, it's the jade helm of Agenda 21's of Illuminati economic plans. Hold on. Let's see if let me dig this up. See if there's a baseline, the Great Reset. And this is the idea that they're going to wipe out, and for the record, let's see. Yeah. So World Economic Forum presented this idea. The World Economic Forum has no enforceable action ability. It's a worldwide think tank. And this is what they're presenting. This is his big boogeyman. And apparently the World Economic Forum it's a secret plan. It's a secret plan. They'll make it into other stuff. But this is okay. So this is the Great Reset, as they put it, the Great Reset Initiative. There's an urgent need for global stakeholders to cooperate in simultaneously managing the direct consequences of the COVID-19 crisis to improve the state of the world. The World Economic Forum is starting the Great Reset Initiative. This is it. Okay. And they have a whole short on it, like sustainable development. There's just dozens of areas where they're like, okay, things are shit right now. If we're going to start the engines again, let's start the engines a little better, right? If everything's been ground to a halt and we've got this pause basically happening, maybe not jump into coal again, for example, this kind of stuff. The context. COVID-19, the political and economic social disruption it has caused, fundamentally changing the traditional context and decision-making, the inconsistencies, inadequacies, and contradictions of multiple systems, from health and finance to energy and education, are more exposed than ever amidst the global context of concern for lives, livelihoods, and the planet. Leaders find themselves at historic crossroads, managing short-term pressures against medium and long-term uncertainties. The opportunity. As we enter a unique window of opportunity to shape the recovery, this initiative will offer insights to help inform all those who are determining the future state of global relations, the direction of national economies, the priorities of societies, the nature of business models, and the management of global commons. Drawing from the vision and vast expertise of leaders engaged across the forum's communities, the Great Reset Initiative has a set of dimensions to build a new social contract that honors the dignity of every human being, which is obviously the part that upsets Glenn Beck the most. So let's see if there's so they're having dialogues, they're getting together, what does that mean? Blah, blah, blah. And for the record, as much as I like the idea of creating some sort of like, okay, we've got to pause here, let's see, is this house stable? Is the foundation still good? Should we add solar panels to it or knock the whole thing down and build a new house? Those are reasonable conversations to have in the micro and perhaps on the macro in some levels, right? If you've got a structure and you can afford to restructure it because you're basically restarting it from scratch anyways, is there a better way to do it? And should we have conversations about a better way to do it? And that's what they're talking about. As much as I love that idea, this is all lip flapping from the World Economic Forum. Sorry. It's basically a publicity stunt around, sustainable investment and, and climate change concerns and that kind of stuff. Because if they don't talk about the World Economic Forum, if they don't talk about this stuff, then most people think of the World Economic Forum genuinely as another version of the WTO or the World Bank or, an organization that seeks to manipulate economies for their own benefit. And so this is a show. This is for show. But yes, it's wishful thinking and it's ridiculous. There are small areas where you could absolutely do it, I suppose, right? What's your society doing as far as investing in energy, right? What are they doing? Where's up? Okay, do we switch from 80-20 or are we shifting 60-40? Like, fine. Those conversations are happening everywhere anyways. The G20 is having those kind of conversations. It's just an overlap. But this one has a very awesome brand on it that makes, this is exactly what they're looking for. The Great Reset, there's also a version of the Great Reset where they talk about, eliminating all debt and starting from scratch. And in some countries, obviously like China and other stuff, that means the elimination of personal property. And therefore, they think that applies to personal property everywhere. It's fun. We'll see more of this. But this is the Great Reset he's talking about, just to give you a kind of heads up about that the Democratic Party, while they run everything, is simply a tool of the World Economic Forum.
When do you reset things? When do you...
Well, I mean, obviously, if the computer won't boot, if you got a software freeze,
downstairs into the scary basement to look at the fuse box.
I was choosing a more modern analogy, but sure, why not make some sort of odd horror film version of things?
It's fine.
No.
When there's been a disruption in power, right? Something is blown in the house. When do you push the reset button on your computer?
When something is blown in the house, I'm not thinking about the fuse box. Never mind.
When everything is fine or just a little glitchy? Or do you just I don't want to and you just keep going until it completely freezes up and you have no other option but to reset? So the things that this government, quote, is failing in are not failings. They are to...
Well, that I agree with. I think most of what you think of as what you think of as a failure is actually a success. It's just a success of the opposite side of your political belief system, which is that America should be chopped up into chuck and fed to the biggest worldwide foreign investors that exist.
Feed you to the Great Reset.
To feed you to the Great Reset. What? Wait, what?
Are not failings. They are to lead you to the Great Reset. Let's go through some of them. Supply chain. One more example of Biden failing at basic governing. This is from Breitbart. That's the headline.
Yeah, Breitbart. Thank you for at least going to an unbiased news source. Yes, Biden is at fault for the breakdown of the Chinese supply chain of goods to the United States that has collapsed largely because of COVID, because of coal shortages over there, because floods are literally filling in their coal mines with the miners in them. This is all part of Biden's accidental failure that's really a plan to destroy China so that we can't buy plastic goods and assembled circuit boards that could be assembled in Vietnam or Taiwan or in Arizona, it turns out. No, this is all part of the plan.
It's not a failure of him governing. This is intentional. Southwest pilots warn fatigue, frustration could fuel further outages. Well,
Southwest isn't a supply chain. That's a commercial airline that flies people.
I'll hear from the pilots union here in just a few minutes, but does anybody actually believe that the mandate plays no role in that?
No. It plays a minor role because Southwest employs a lot more like rotation pilots, people that are not permanent Southwest pilots that, you know, just rotate in and out when they need free gigs. And that's how they keep the flights cheap, because they don't have to keep these people on. And so a lot of them can be told to go pound sand. Because if you'll notice, there's a shit ton of other airlines in this country, and they seem to be making up for those missing flights from Southwest. And what's the issue here? That we have fewer suicidal pilots?
CNN says Americans won't be able to go back to shopping like in the before times.
Well, not right away, obviously, because there's a bottleneck of stuff, because China is basically has lost 10 years.
Oh. Okay.
No, you're not going to be able to shop in the before times. You're not going to be able to buy cheap, undurable goods, crap that basically you should pass over anyways. You're going to have to think about your purchases a little more, not because you can't get them, but because you'll have to wait a little longer for garbage. Here's a good idea, and I'll throw this out there, and this might be a little too pro-America for you, Glenn, is that, you know how in World War II, when they had scrap metal drives and people went to work in factories, left home and went to work in factories to make up for, to help with the war effort and all that kind of stuff. And it was a very pro-America thing to do. Here's a tiny little version of things that you can go do. Let's say the toy that your kid supposedly magically wants. By the way, there is no Cabbage Patch doll this season. There is no thing that kids all over the country are fighting to get the first one of. It doesn't exist. It hasn't for a few years. You haven't had one of those in a while. There's a backlog of Xboxes and PS5s, but that's it. And there has been for a year and a half anyways. That's no surprise to anyone. Here's a good idea. Get some shit off eBay or make something yourself. Surprise someone. Get them something. Get them an experience in their own country. I'm not buying you something that you don't have room for and that will end up in storage or the garbage. We're all going to go here and do something together. We're all going on a night out. We're going to spend time together as a family. This whole idea that there's not going to be enough Christmas trees. You mean plastic Christmas trees, you fuck. Not real Christmas trees. Not... So lazy. Jesus Christ. Tighten your fucking belt. We just went through a pandemic. We're not even out of it yet, you dick.
The U.S. healthcare force is short 500,000 workers now.
Which is how much of a percentage of the U.S. workers, the healthcare workers. And a bunch of them fucking died because, I don't know, whoever was president when all this shit started thought it wasn't a big deal. And we lost a bunch of EMTs and nurses and doctors in the beginning.
Hospital just closed its NICU because of staffing shortages due to vaccine mandate.
Oh, so they were hiring lunatics. So wait a minute. Raise your hand if you want your infant, your newborn's nurse to be an anti-vaxxer. What the fuck else are they not getting a vaccine for? Whooping cough? Christ.
You see what these all have in common so far?
Yes, we've been through a pandemic, and this is the psychological impact of going through a pandemic, and the whole world is going through similar stuff, and we're no different than a lot of other Western societies that are dealing with it in the same way because we have the freedom of speech here. And so they've got a lunatic fringe that's being puffed up by overseas forces that want us to collapse, mixed in with people who are true believers against this bullshit, and everybody else is just trying to jumpstart their business while fuckos like you are waving the white flag on America. That's pretty much what's going on.
U.S. cities are having to boost budgets for cops after defund the police initiatives result in more crime.
Yeah, all the cities. What do we mean? The 3 cities that diverted funds are now boosting funds again? Everybody else didn't even bother to do it? And by the way, the rise in crime, can we just settle this too? Can we just settle this bullshit? The rise in crime has nothing to do with lack of police right now. It has everything to do with DAs who are not charging people, who are letting people out on bond who have committed murder or attempted murder or rape or attempted rape. It has nothing to do with lack of cops. The cops are bringing them in. The DAs are setting them loose. And part of it's because they're like, well, because we can't, I don't know if the evidence is strong enough for this particular guy, so we'll put an ankle bracelet on him and send him home. Except they've got just as much chance in a lot of these communities of catching COVID at home as they do in fucking jail. And then they're running out of ankle bracelets. They got empty cells and they're running out of ankle bracelets. Police do not prevent crime. They come in after the crime has been committed. No. More police on the street deters crime. Visible police presence is and has always deterred crime. You are much less likely to knock over a store when a police car is sitting right there than if it is not. That is, they deter crime. There's just no direct measure on this. One, the research that they've done on like the number of police in a particular police force, but in a place like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Miami, where they've done studies like this, for every cop you add, that is to the payroll, there is 0.1 fewer murders every year. So you hire 10 cops, and you get you basically eliminate a murder every year for every 10 cops you add to your police force. And this is not about militarization. This is about beat cops. This is about patrol cops. That's across the board. And you take 10 cops out of an area that's highly populated, you guarantee an extra murder on the books every year, if not every month, depending on the number of cities. Like smaller city, it's one added to their rolls. It depends on, it's a percentage of how many they have. In a big city like New York or LA, you're talking about an extra 12 to 15 dead people a year for every 10 cops you take off the beat. No, cops on the beat was a walking thing. Most people think of that, but now they drive. They're just in cars, but they're absolutely part of it. They're all over the place. Look at cops on, like when you're on the just driving around. Look, depending on where you are, how many cops do you pass in a city? The fewer cops you pass, the higher the crime rate in the area you're in. More cops to shoot unarmed people. Not sure what to feel on this. Can't trust them or the system. Bullshit. More cops, bless your heart, I appreciate your sympathy for this circumstance, but more cops actually lower the shootings. A single cop or 2 cops by themselves in an egregious situation there's a higher chance and a higher frequency that they will have to shoot someone than if there are 8 or 10. The volume of cops inversely impacts, positively impacts the chance that there will be a violent exchange with someone who isn't armed. But I love this conversation, and we do need better trained cops. People should be able to trust the police that they're around. But there are 17,896 police departments in the United States. Listen to me on this. 17,689. something like that. I don't know what the newest number is. 869. We'll go with that number right now. Almost 18,000 police departments. There are 1 billion police-civilian interactions every year. 1 billion. Citizens of the United States, of which there are 340 some odd million, obviously not the children, most of the time not the old people, lots of, times it's in many ways, it's guys between the ages of 16 and 35 make up most of those billion police interactions. Understand? 1 billion. There is not an epidemic of rampant and wanton police violence in the country. What we need to focus on is in certain police departments, there are dudes who get in there that are specifically there because they have a racist tendency. And those people need to be broomed. Because when you take cops out of like low-income areas, when you take cops out of criminally infected areas, it gets worse for the people there. Most people attack their own kind. Most white people are killed by white people. Most black people are killed by black people. Trump did not win. Trump lost. Lillian, I'm very sorry that you sniffed something or you huffed paint as a child or you were denied oxygen at some point in your life. But Trump lost. If you overwhelm, you cannot, how we talk about sometimes like Trump's lies are so egregious that there's hundreds of thousands of votes. There's tens of thousands of dead people voted. There are 100,000 votes that people didn't, and it's bullshit. And the lie is so big, it's embarrassing. To that if there was even a small problem, you're never going to fix it because you're avoiding the problem entirely. The idea that, say, a Trump voter, we're very aware of, murdered his wife, and while her body was missing and he was pretending she had just disappeared, he used her ballot to vote for Trump. We know this is a fact. Of the murder your wife demographic and use her ballot to vote for Trump, that group of people, Trump won it hands down, 100%. Trump locked up the murder your wife and vote for Trump in her stead. So, but those situations when they come up, or people who thought they could vote or voted across the state line, or they thought they had they'd gotten out of jail and they didn't realize they had to wait till the end of their probation period before they could vote, for example, and they voted, and then they get charged and given jail for 2-3 years. That's bullshit. That shouldn't be necessary. I believe that that people who pay their full penance to society should be allowed to vote. And if the law is in that particular state that you can't do it until you're finished with your probation, I'm fine with that too. But they should be fully aware of that their probation officer should go, hey, got to remind you, the election's coming up. You can't vote. Not until the next one. Right? So anyways, in cities where crime has gone up during the summer and the denial of police in those areas because of the actions of Chauvin, what you're basically doing is guaranteeing that people will not be faithfully served by the police. You make it worse. And you put good cops who do stay on because they do want to protect people in a tighter and tighter bubble where they're going to be they're going to be outgunned and outmanned, and we're back to the 90s. Is that guy in jail? Yes, he is. The guy, yes. And so right now, the biggest problem we currently have in as far as violent crime goes is DAs releasing people who are are up for murder or attempted murder, rape or assault. Those people are being turned out just like trespassing and other crimes, which, or weed. You know, the idea was if somebody's just caught with a bag of weed, why are we putting them in jail? Why are we going through this whole stupid process? That has now metastasized into, and, you know, Portland's well known for it, but in some DAs in the New York, New Jersey area, some in Chicago are doing this very thing. And it's dangerous to citizens. And it's racist beyond measure. It's incredibly racist. Because if the first thing you see about a criminal is their race, instead of seeing that they're a criminal, what you're also seeing is that anytime you see that person of that race, you're associating them with criminality. That this is somehow natural to these people, and therefore, what are you going to do? You can't throw them all in jail, so why da-da-da? That, it's obscene. The African-American communities in some of these high-crime areas are not personally responsible for the assholes among them that shoot up park parties and shoot up houses and kill kids. They are not. They need to be removed and put in jail just like any other community. It's disgusting. Sorry, my screen croaked because I was yapping so long. That's how I know I've been chit-chatting for too long. Wake up. Hold on, I've got to switch over to my... There it goes. Okay. So that's my little diatribe on that. But it's so important. Because what you have right now is reverse profiling. You're profiling the entire community instead of the criminals. Trisha says, I hear gunfire every night. Right. It's there's no need for that. And it's the same fucking people. If you grow up in Eastern Kentucky, if you grow up in Appalachia or any of those areas, or you know, when I was 4 in West Virginia and we were around these folks, they're the same fucking rednecks shooting off guns, beating the shit out of each other, shooting each other every week. The rest of the community is not involved in this. It's the same 9 assholes. It's the same in all these situations. Yeah. How many crimes they actually solved? A lot of them. Most cops are there to help people and keep them safe. Without question. So, anyways, that's my little rant on that. It drives me crazy. And the idea that this dickhead, who is actually calling for the destruction of America, is saying that because I'm a liberal, because I'm a Democrat, I want, these situations. He's basically saying, I want crime in these areas to go up so that innocent black people are killed. Fuck him. No.
Closes 5 more San Francisco locations due to theft. This is happening in big city.
Wait, which one? CVS?
5 more San Francisco crime. Walgreens.
It's Walgreens. Okay, Walgreens. Many of you don't know this, but we were showing, let's see, San Francisco. Here we go. San Francisco shoplifting bust. It should be in here. So there was a big story on the right, and they ran with this because they were for very racist reasons. The idea that they were running this stupid story on the idea that and like when Ben Shapiro ran the clips, Glenn, I think, talked about it. Amy talked about it a lot. I don't know if he ran any of the clips. I think they did. They do this, they were essentially saying they're just letting people come in and grab bags of stuff and run out the door, right? They're being, this kind of thing. Well, it turns out it's not rampant, just personal crime like individuals, homeless, and people in the community stealing from these San Francisco stores. It was a theft ring, a massive mafia-level theft ring. This dude was running this thing, and they had this warehouse full of stuff that had been stolen from Walgreens and CVS. So those people who were walking out with bags were a lot of people were perceiving it as like homeless people are stealing what they need and people are desperate and people are desperate. And it wasn't desperate people at all. It was a major ring. And the reason they're going out of business is because this stuff, all their merch, all their stuff that was stolen is still being processed as evidence. $8 million in stolen merchandise. This dude had it organized. And you know where he sold it all? On Amazon. At cut prices. So anytime you were buying any toiletries on Amazon that were super cheap, these people are grabbing bags of stuff and then running out. And they let it happen. This was the other thing. The police were, because they were like saying, don't pursue, don't pursue, don't pursue. Right? Well, there was a reason why they weren't pursuing it. Because when they were like, the cops aren't even stopping this shit. It's just the sales point. Like, they've just given up on fighting crime. No. They knew it was a ring, and the less they fought it, the more open these assholes got. So they have tons of footage of these people walking over these bags of stuff, pouring it into a trunk of a car, talking on a phone. They didn't even bother to run very far. They gathered all this information, and they nailed this entire ring. Yes, and Amazon should do better too. This is an Amazon non-vetting problem. But look at all that stuff. But what Glenn Beck wants you to think is that the San Francisco police stopped policing this because black people are doing it and that they were just letting black people steal from Walgreens. This is what the idea is, that they're just letting the city go to crap and they're allowing these criminals, and this is the storyline that they were pitching for weeks. And this isn't the only city. This dude is linked up with, they're doing this like similar stings in New York. This was an organized crime thing. This is like a low rent version of when the mob used to hijack trucks. Remember in the stories of the 80s and the 90s? Fuck, Beverly Hills Cop opens with a joke about this kind of stuff. Fellas, look at it. See what this is? That's a federal tax stamp. You can't get no cleaning that. Right? There's a whole truck full of cigarettes. That's what this is. And the cops weren't busting people because they were following them. And these people weren't, violent criminals. They weren't shooting people. They were just snatch and grabs. So they decided to go, what's the root of the snatch and grab? We can bust a couple of these people, but most of them are keeping their mouths shut because they're afraid of whoever this dude is either threatening them with cartel violence or personal violence. So Walgreens' issue might have happened, and their decision to close stores might have happened during this period, but the cops weren't just not going after crime. The DA and the state police and the San Francisco police all worked together and busted these motherfuckers. But what Glenn wants you to think is that they're just letting cities become cesspools. That's what Democrats want.
There's 5 more San Francisco locations due to theft.
Uh-huh.
It's happening.
Has nothing to do with the rent, the lack of foot traffic, the fact that people are buying stuff on Amazon, the rent, and the rent.
Cities where they have said, we're not going to prosecute anybody for shoplifting.
I'm sorry, Can't Stop Lying. I am ruining a perfectly good apocalyptic fantasy. I know. How are we ever going to get to the level of crime that we see in Jackie Chan's Rumble in the Bronx, where people are like riding neon painted motorcycles down the street to a warehouse where they play pool and drink booze?
You're shoplifting under $1,000. So people are just going in and they're just wiping these stores clean.
And by the way, this is a story he's been telling for fucking months. And they're not wiping these stores clean. They're stealing less than $1,000 in a store that has an inventory any given day of somewhere in the order of $50,000 to $75,000. So bullshit. It's also insured. It's just not worth having that many locations anymore. And there are parts of San Francisco, by the way, that suck. There are parts of the, like, how San Francisco is run that needs a lot of work. It's ignorant. It's foolish. It's heart instead of head. There's all kinds of problems with it. But that ain't this. He's not even, okay, I'm going to give him a break because 3 minutes and 15 seconds in, he just brought this up. Do you think he's going to bring up this bust? Yeah, I don't think that's an accident either. The halo, like putting a fucking, it's like when the guy holding the plate behind Jesus' head and History of the World Part 1.
Police can't do anything about it.
No, they do it. They did a lot about it. It was an organized act. They didn't just chase somebody down with a bag of fucking Mucinex and knock the shit out of them and then not figure out why it happened the next day with somebody else. This dude was hiring random low-level drug addicts, paying them hundreds of dollars, and then they'd go get high. Half these fuckers are dead. A lot of them died of fentanyl, like, over the last few months.
Chicago suffering from officer shortage. They can't find the recruits. Believe they need, what is it, there's 877 vacancies. I think they need about 1,600 officers, and they can't figure out why officers.
Yeah, so let's just understand Glenn Beck's math. Whatever they say they need double that.
Don't want to work in Chicago. Over the weekend, try this one on for size. California moved one step closer to ending reliance on fossil fuels. What they did is they banned...
This sounds horrible. Wait a minute. One step closer to ending reliance on fossil fuels. Reliance. Huh. So they're taking a must out and turning a must into a want or an option. Huh. Well, clearly.
All off-road gasoline engines. So, if you have a leaf blower, if your lawn service is cutting the lawn, using a lawnmower, can't be gasoline, has to be electric.
Okay. They've been trying to ban electric leaf blowers forever because they stink and they pollute and it's unnecessary. So let's look at the let's see what the nature of the California ban on leaf blowers. Okay. Oh, this is terrible. Guys, this is the worst kind of control. And you'll see what I mean. How do you even... California is banning gas-powered leaf blowers, lawnmowers, and weed trimmers. Off-road engines. Because apparently Glenn Beck rides an ATV that runs on a leaf blower engine, and offering rebates for switching to zero-emission tools. Oh, they're helping you buy the alternative. Signed a bill on Saturday to ban gas-powered lawn equipment as early as 2024. State plans to offer rebates to people who switch to zero-emission electronic lawn tools. Set aside $30 million to help gardeners and landscapers make the switch. I mean, the draconian, the tyranny, how dare they? It's like they're wrapping their hands around the throats of these independent gardeners. Of course, not hands, money, but same. Sign a bill in the law. Okay, so here, is this the bill? Yeah, here you go. Access to Health Safety Code, Legislative Council Digest, People's State of California, do and act as follows. Small off-road engines, SOAR, great name, which are used primarily in lawn and garden equipment, emit high levels of air pollutants, including oxides of nitrogen, reactive organic gases, and particulate matter. NOx and ROG together contribute to formation of ozone, a criteria pollutant with a national ambient air quality standard set by the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and a California ambient air quality standard that has adverse impacts on health. By the way, do you think for a second that the guys that do this job, that work their ass off for, in some cases, little pay, in some cases, a lot of pay, some cases they do quite well for considering what they're doing. But do you think these guys would rather, if somebody paid them to replace their gear, would rather not breathe the fumes? Because we know the shit is poisonous, and these folks are the closest people to it. There is no one closer to that smoke than that guy. Right? Fucking hell. Gas-powered chainsaws, weed trimmers, and golf carts are also affected by the new law. Most of the golf carts in California are electric anyways. Used primarily in lawn and garden equipment. Let me see. Stipulates portable generators must be zero emission by 2028. The law is set to be enforced January 21 as soon as feasible. The Lung Association ranked California worst state for air pollution. So you want to do it. In 2019, it was ranked that. 2020, following the string of wildfires. Well, that's why. It's the wildfires, not the fucking leaf blowers. But okay. But let's look at the governor's directs state to implement strategies to achieve 100% zero emission from operators. There you go. There it is. What do you know? Can we look at this a little? Can we take a giant look at this shit? Can we please just hold on? I'm gonna blow this up and bring it over here. It's on 2 lines, but you guys can read it. Let me bring this minus that little line right up here. This guy, that's it. See that? See this? See that line right there? See that line that's in all climate legislation. All of it. Every time we pass a climate change legislation about this kind of shit, every fucking time, this line is in there. Some version of this. Where feasible and cost effective. If it's going to put somebody out of business, they could just file for a waiver and it's free. Guaranteed. Does anybody else think that qualifies as tyranny? We looked at the Paris Climate Accord has an entire section of it devoted to that very phrase. I'm so fucking tired of this bullshit, it's tyranny nonsense. It's a vaccine mandate. They're forcing it upon us. Well, you don't have to get the vaccine. You can get tested once a week too. But it's a testing mandate. Well, I mean, you could obviously get another job. You have the freedom to move jobs. Or I'm being forced to... All right. By your employer, who's a private industry, and they just want to keep their government contracts. So they have to buy them. They don't have to take government contracts. If you love freedom that much, the fuck are you doing making all your money off the government? What are you, Paul Ryan? Because we have federal government contracts, we have to abide by federal government rules. Don't take the contracts. Get them from somewhere else. Subcontract to somebody. Build it for somebody else. Freedom! Every one of these bills says where feasible and cost effective. If you can't afford to do it, you can't afford to do it. But that's our goal. Always. It's every time these dickheads, they're being driven, they're destroying. It's an intentional destruction of the thing. They're trying to destroy the world where feasible and cost effective. If it's not feasible and cost effective, we won't destroy the world. But within any of those shit. Fucking assholes. It's because it's so aggravating.
This will bankrupt so many small businesses.
It will bankrupt 0 small businesses. They're allocating $30 million in rebates, and if that still doesn't fix it for you, you can write a letter and say, I can't afford it, and they'll go, okay, we'll try better next time. It's not going to bankrupt anybody. The only people it's going to bankrupt are people who don't like having their gardening business and want to sue the government. So they shut down, pretend they were denied, file a lawsuit, and the lawsuit will fail because the attorney for the state of California will go, it does say we're feasible and cost effective. They did have the option to write us a letter and opt out of the program, and we did offer them rebates and shit. And the judge will go, get the fuck out of my courtroom. That's the end of it. So stupid. Yeah, and somebody, John said, I have a Ryobi electric mower and love it. I agree. I mean, I love a lot of the Ryobi gear. I have a bunch of that stuff because you can use the battery and everything, and I've got one of the multi-battery chargers. You know, this is not an ad. I like the stuff genuinely. Well, a lot of the guys that, you know, I see doing yard work in our neighborhood and the like are using that stuff because there's a lot more of it. If you made this rule in 1985, it'd be cruel. But it's 2021. Most of this, anytime they buy new stuff, they're not going to be buying new gas-powered ones anyway. Oh, God.
1,000 businesses are going to be affected by this. And it's only a matter of time before.
Yes, they're going to be 1,000 businesses will be affected. Yes, they will get a rebate for new equipment, and they'll also be able to write that new equipment off on their taxes over time and the cost of batteries. And it will be tax rebate after tax rebate, state and federal, to where the gear will ultimately cost them fucking nothing. And their employees will not be 6 inches away from a plume of noxious gases every time they go to work.
Everyone has to do this.
No, everyone does not have to do this. Everyone who can afford to do this can do this. If you can't afford to do this, you write a letter and you don't have to do this. But you don't know that because you're a fucking moron.
Psaki said yesterday, and I quote, "The president wants to use the pandemic to make fundamental changes in our economy." Is that what you voted for?
Yeah. In some cases, yes. The idea that, you know, where there's enormous income inequality, where the, you know, the tax rate individually is, you know, in a situation where a school teacher has to give 12 to 15% of her income when it makes a huge difference in her life. That amount of money, that is health insurance premiums, that's food, that's childcare, and she has to pay that to the government to get the services back. But somebody like Donald Trump gets back $700 million over 5 years personally in tax rebates before he even spent the fucking money. Still lives on, you know, shits on a gold toilet, you know, fills his house with new money asshole French curlicue furniture. And he not only doesn't pay taxes, and this isn't even like in the zone of like the Jeff Bezos, these companies didn't pay any, Amazon didn't pay any income tax. Okay. They pay on profit. They're not profitable. They write off past nonprofits. Like that's even in the Trump organization does that, even though they lie more than any other company that we've ever seen. There are other companies, I'm sure, that lie more. We just haven't seen them yet. Sort of Enron, Milliken zone of things. But Trump himself, living on his gold curlicue furniture and his 3 top floors of Trump Tower and his fucking golf course in 2 different states, and he's bumbling around like a aging, blathering, chubby Jello mold of Howard Hughes pissing in mason jars, that he is getting money back. That's fundamentally messed up. That's not right. That makes no sense.
Did you vote for a fundamental change in our economy?
Which ones are you talking about? She said some.
He feels coming out of the pandemic, it is exactly the time to make fundamental change in our economy. That's not what I voted for.
You didn't vote for Biden, fucko. Who cares? You lost. You voted for Joe Jorgensen.
What's in that package? All kinds of stuff that goes against the Constitution.
Oh, does it? Well, then it won't last because it won't stand up to scrutiny. And when it goes up to the Supreme Court, it'll lose 9-0.
Janet Yellen said the $600 IRS reporting requirement is necessary because there's a lot of tax fraud and cheating that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Is there?
Yes. Yes, there is. Because people create an account and kill it, and create an account and kill it, and create an account and kill it, and it's now mechanical.
Do you know how much it costs to fill my truck now at the gas station?
Gosh. I don't know. How many cupcakes do you eat in a weekend? We're talking about a trip to the grocery store, right? So let's see. 9-pound cakes. Let's see. 14 birthday cakes, because every day is Glenn Beck's birthday. And about 1,600 pounds of little Debbie snack cakes. I mean, they're delicious, but you gotta, Glenn, at some point you gotta learn to say no. By the way, the little Debbie oatmeal, the 2 oatmeal cookies, the cream filled oatmeal, that's crack. Those should be illegal. Those shouldn't be allowed. I would outlaw those before fentanyl at this point.
$100.
$100? Gee, why the fuck are you driving a truck, dummy? This is an honest question. See, the reason his truck uses that much gas is because it's meant to haul lots of shit in it. It has an engine that burns inefficiently because it has a payload on it that's supposed to pull a bunch of stuff. I'm guessing it's his pickup truck that he's talking about. Because dickheads like this always have a pickup truck that they drive to the fucking mall. And even though he doesn't fill the back of it with anything worthwhile other than Little Debbie snack cakes, you know, or when he pretends to go to the edge of the acreage they bought and throw some bales of hay in the back of it so he can get some photos for the, you know, the photo album. Yeah, it's got it's bullshit. But the reason he has a big gas guzzling truck because he thinks it's macho, and that's how big the tank is. Now, here's the question. If you have $100 to fill your tank, how long does the tank of gas last? Because I'm going to guess this, like, limousine lunatic only drives it for show anyways. When's the last time you saw somebody fucking Insta a picture of Glenn Beck? I saw him at the market.
$100 to fill my truck.
I'm so censoring.
I can do that easily. Easily. In a month, 6 times.
Where the fuck are you going, Glenn? What are you talking about? You have to fill your truck, the tank. Where are you going? Where is Glenn? Glenn. You are not filling your truck 6 times a month. Twice a week and change. Honestly. Where did you get this truck? Like Army surplus from World War I? The fuck are you talking about? Is this how you pay for this? You drive an 18-wheeler? 600. Get the fuck out of here.
If I'm driving the truck a lot, at least.
Yeah, a lot. Like to Europe and back.
So I pay.
Bullshit. By the way, you could tell by the way he was doing this that Stu had one of those like moments where, you know, he's always, you know, Stu's like, anything you say, boss, anything you say, boss, anything you say, boss. But occasionally will cross Stu's face. You'll like Glenn will say something and Stu's brows will go like that, which means that sounds like bullshit. But then he has to go back to, yeah, totally. Otherwise he'll lose his job and his other little sideshow on the Blaze.
I pay my gas card. It's a $600 transaction.
Yeah, but that's because of shit you buy at the snack shop inside the gas station. You're getting $30 worth of gas, and then like, you know, 2 Arizona iced teas and those cheese sticks. Admit it, Glenn. They're like crack.
The federal government, the IRS, needs that?
Needs what? No. They don't give a shit what you spend it on. They're not even asking.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Well, that's not because of what you're seeing. It's because your eyeballs suck.
So now you're going after, you know, the post office worker, the teacher.
The post office worker? What post office worker? Trump's dude is firing people left and right. The teacher. Yes, give it up for, thank you, Glenn, for give it up for teacher unions, or teachers unions right now. It's super good. It's very important.
People who are the heroes in our society. You're going after the people that have $50,000 to $60,000. How much are you spending on food every month? If you have a large family, can you spend $600 at the grocery?
Define large. Because, Glenn, I think it's, as far as I know at home, it's just you and the missus, and still qualifies.
Store. Wow. So now you need to be spied upon.
No, you don't. The banks do.
By the IRS, because your transactions are suspicious.
It doesn't look at the transactions. It doesn't give a shit. They just want to know if an account has more than $600 worth of activity in it in a given year. And then they look and see if you file taxes and if the money shows up and all that kind of stuff. And they go, wow, this guy's got 65 accounts and they're all $1,000. And the rule used to be $1,500. And this guy just sets up another account. As long as he keeps the balance in there, he can shuffle all kinds of stuff through and it never hits the radar. So they just had to lower the radar.
We cannot allow these things to happen.
Well, you're too late. They already have. Except the stuff that's never going to happen that you just made up.
This infrastructure bill cannot pass.
It will. It's going to pass.
Because it is infrastructure. It is infrastructure. So when they power everything down because everything is gridlock and you are out in the streets going, there's no food that I can afford.
Yes, that's what the infrastructure bill. They're trying to build roads so that people have places to stand when they're upset. The fuck?
At the grocery store. My shelves are empty.
Well, how would you know? Oh, because that nice new road takes you straight to the grocery store. Hey, Jane.
The ports are backed up. They're not working.
Hey, you know what? You know what? That's true. There's some backup at the ports. Let's see. You know, if we had a president that actually gave a shit, you know, they would look at this problem, and then try to solve it. You know, kind of like what was happening in Del Rio, you know, under the bridge, the encampment that was there. And they went, oh shit, there's a thing building up here. Let's talk about how we solve it and go solve it. Let's figure out a good plan. And they did. Do you see any more drone footage from Ted Cruz of the Del Rio Bridge right now? No. What about the LA port? Touts longer hours. Administration officials promise a 90-day sprint. President Biden said Wednesday that a new plan to keep a key U.S. port open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week would leave pressure on an overworked supply chain that has frustrated Americans and blossomed into a major economic shortcoming. This is something anybody could have seen would be one of the potential problems post-COVID, depending on when you define post-COVID. It could have happened a few months from now, could have happened a few months ago, depending on where we are. It just happened to happen now, and they're dealing with it. This is what you do. You can't make the problems not exist, but you can solve them once they occur on your end. You are only responsible for the things that you are able to respond to. The problems in China with production and all those other things have nothing to do with the United States or Biden or anybody in the administration who just got elected at all. So you see a problem? and you get about fixing it. But see, Glenn only reads news from 6 months ago, except for talking points he gets from the same fax machine that the Heritage Foundation installs in everybody's office.
You can't hire anybody to do the job.
What job is that? What job is that? Clear brush in 107-degree heat for $12 an hour with no benefits? Is Stu bitching about dental again?
There's crime all over the city. My
What city is that?
school board is completely out of control, and the FBI is now...
Wait, you go to school? My school board? And by the way, he's using the me, my language because he's speaking on behalf of you. Glenn and the people are one. He's sort of like if Kim Jong-un and a bucket of KFC were like mixed together in a wood chipper, gas powered, of course.
Interviewing all of the parents that were there at the school board meeting.
Who is?
School board is completely out of control, and the FBI is now interviewing all of the parents that were there at the school board meeting.
No, they're not. The FBI is not interviewing all of the parents at the school board meeting in Glenn's neighborhood. I'm certain they're talking to a couple of people who've sent some nasty messages on Facebook, made some weird phone calls where they tried to, if you teach critical race theory. Hold on one second. We should probably do it this way.
If you teach critical race theory, it'll be the last thing you teach. Besides, before recess and after lunch. No critical race theory.
Sir, this is a preschool.
You heard me. You heard me.
Sir, did you make a phone call to the school using a voice shifter and threaten to murder the principal over a curriculum that they don't even teach?
No. Why? What'd you hear?
So.
I can't afford gas anymore.
Hold on. I know that's not true. I know there's no price too high. There's no way that Glenn Beck cannot afford gas. I guarantee it. This is BS. No way.
Can't afford a new car. They're not even making the new cars anymore.
The new cars. Yeah, they stopped making the new ones. They're not even going to make cars. They've stopped making cars. Did you guys know that? You mean because there's a fucking chip shortage? Maybe that's why a Taiwanese company is opening a chip factory in Arizona, and over $30 to $50 billion are going to be invested in chip factories in the United States thanks to the American Rescue Plan that Biden already passed, that Republicans voted against. Are you going to be there for the fucking ribbon cutting in Arizona? Are you going to be there when the car companies tout the new chips that are made right in Arizona?
My oil or my gas bill to heat my house is 2.5 times what it was before the election. It's already double what it was.
Mm-hmm.
We're not even in the winter yet. When all of that happens, when the court system doesn't work, when the police can't work, when crime is out of control, when you can't afford your groceries, when you can't afford your house, when the banks are just making all kinds of money, when all of these things are happening, this is not a failing of the progressives. This is by design for the Great Reset.
Yes. Their whole goal, the key, you know, the Great Reset is coming because they've obviously dosed Glenn Beck to make him talk like this. Yes, I don't know why he's heating his house in the summer. I think he just burns tires outside as a distraction to the sun so they can keep his house ice cold because he obviously lives in a mini fridge.
This is why we have to.
What?
This is why we have to speak out.
Is that what you're doing? Is that what this qualifies as? Is this speaking out? Glenn, you talk for a fucking living, dude. You speak, go into microphone, goes out. Speak out. What do you want? More people to go and threaten people at their school board? When are they going to go shake your fist? I went to Walmart and there's a big gap where all the cheap Chinese crap we used to buy is. Boo fuckity hoo.
This is why tonight's TV show is so important, because the
I see. Driving traffic.
There really is local, local, local. When the FBI said that they were going to look into terrorists, do you know why they did that, right?
Because we had a January 6th situation where 140 cops were injured and people shit in the U.S. Capitol in the name of Donald John Trump. And a bunch of them have threatened to do even worse. And people who haven't been processed yet are gathering together, and they're breaking up these little cells of people who think, well, if I can't get the actual capital, I'll get my state capital. And if I can't get my state capital, I'll just go to the school and fuck somebody up.
They did that to scare you off. Well, Loudoun County wasn't scared off.
Loudoun County didn't have a fucking problem. They had a protest. They spoke. Nobody gave a shit. You didn't scare off Loudoun County because the people that were there didn't threaten to kill anyone so far.
This night, they had a huge school board meeting. They were even more vocal than they have been.
Yeah, but they didn't say, I'm going to come to your fucking house and murder you.
We need to be at our school board meetings, even if you live
even if you don't have kids. It's very important.
Good town where your school board is on your side.
Yes. Yeah, don't just threaten the lives of school board members that, you know, teach things you don't like. If they do like it, it's probably a trick. They're probably setting you up. They'll pass something that says they're not going to, teach critical race theory, but you just wait.
Need to be there because the school board association is watching, and we must send them a message.
Yes, you must threaten the school board association through threats to the school boards that are doing fine in your estimation. Especially if you don't have children in the district. What?
You don't scare me.
You know what? The only thing that scares Glenn Beck? Walking out to his pickup truck and somebody's run off with all his Little Debbie snack cakes. It keeps him up at night. It's the kind of thing that turns your hair snow white.
These are my children.
No, they're not. Pull your kids, you fucking lunatic.
These people will do anything to win.
Anything to win. Anything. Okay, what do you think is within the scope of anything? What you think bioweapons, again, napalming a a school zone, anything. No, they will not. And if anything, I mean, who are you talking about? If you're talking about the weird Loudon parents and the other folks that the FBI might be looking into, is that a warning?
They don't play by the rules. The only thing that frightens them is you waking up and standing up. Read Barack Obama's book. Jonah Goldberg tweeted me the other day, and he said, when I said, I think they've just started another Tea Party, and he said, ooh, like the first one was so effective. Did you read Barack Obama's book? It was.
No, it was not. It was a bunch of fapping nonsense. It was embarrassing. When you think of the Tea Party, what do you think of? An old person, a future Trump voter of America, holding up a sign that said, while wearing, by the way, dressed as Ben Franklin, wearing a 3-point hat, a tricorn hat, holding up a sign that says, keep your government hands off of my Medicare. Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, the Mad Men couldn't have come up with a better.
According to Barack Obama, it was. It slowed him down.
Yeah, it slowed him down. You know what it slowed him down from doing? Providing health care to 24 million Americans. It is easy to say that tens of millions of Americans are alive or have survived an illness without going broke because of the ACA. And the Tea Party didn't stop that, but they delayed it. So what was the point? To just let some of those folks die in the interim?
There's still lessons to learn, though, of how, if we're going to do something else like that, it needs to be done and hopefully have longer legs than this one. We've complained about that several times.
And we are.
Yeah, you're good at it. I mean, Stu, that's your job. You complain, and it just didn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? You wake up and you look in the closet. And somebody says, wear the blue one. You're like, I don't like it. I don't want to wear the blue one. The set's blue. The lights are blue. Everything's blue. I don't want to wear the blue plaid. Wear the blue plaid. I don't want to. It just looks like something like Marty McFly passed on in 1985. And I just...
We know that it's going to be taken over by hook and by crooks in the Republican Party.
Right, yeah. So what better? Thank you for motivating everyone, Glenn. That's right. Your motivation, right-wingers, Trumpers, maggots, is to form a new Tea Party, even though, it's going to be taken over by hook or by crook by Republicans. I mean, really, it's futile and a waste of time, and really was only good for delaying things a little. But, quit your job and move to wherever the fuck Glenn is.
And we have to have certain principles. It's really easy now to align on principles. It's very easy. It's very easy.
Is it? Well, to pretend to, sure.
Do you believe the school board, you should be allowed to go in and question the school board?
Yes. You should not be allowed to go in and scream at teachers who are leaving afterwards saying, we know where you live and we're going to finish you.
Peacefully. First Amendment.
Right, yes. But once the meeting is over, the building is closed. You are trespassing. Get the fuck out. See you at the next meeting.
Do you believe that everybody has a right to speak their mind out in open?
Well, I mean, they have the right to, yeah. Doesn't mean everybody around them is going to like it or put up with it for a while. I mean, Glenn, I know there are certain racial pejoratives you would feel more comfortable being able to bandy about during your conversations. But I'm just saying, in most restaurants, it's a mistake.
Agree with Fauci or anybody else. First Amendment. Do you believe that people who disagree with us have a right to publish and to be seen and be heard, or should they be canceled? First Amendment.
No, that's not First Amendment. Don't try to slip that one in there, you creep. It's not the First Amendment. First Amendment is you can write the paper, but it's not a violation of your First Amendment if the Wall Street Journal doesn't publish your stupid op-ed. What kind of Unabomber bullshit is this? I don't know why the Unabomber bothered killing people. According to Glenn Beck, it's a violent. He could have just sued every newspaper in the United States and make them publish his manifesto. If only Glenn had been around at that time, he could have taken the case. What?
Do you believe I have a right to protect myself, especially when the government is firing all the cops and they're saying places like Austin, Texas, unless somebody has you in a chokehold with a gun, don't call us. We can't come.
Yeah, that's not actually what it says, but sure.
Breaking into your house. Oh, well, we can't help you.
No, if someone broke into your house and they are no longer there and you're going, hey, somebody broke into my place, you call the regular line, not the emergency line. If someone's breaking into your house and you're in there, then you call 911. Unless, and in deference to you, Glenn, you're a fucking moron.
Damn right I have a right to own a gun. Damn right.
Yes, you do. So what? And by the way, this is, do you need a submachine gun? Do you need 30 rounds for somebody who's trying to break into your house? I'm sure your neighbors appreciate that you can't hit the broadside of a fucking barn, so you've got two magazines for the amosexuals who get all mad about it, duct taped together so you can quick load back in as you're firing through your own window like you're like you're at the end of First Blood firing into the ceiling. I'm sure your neighbors across the street and down the block appreciate the hail of bullets you need to when you've got a home invader coming into your house, or somebody, or not even an unarmed burglar for that matter. They step in. I got the right to defend myself and my property. So therefore, sorry, Sam. Close your windows. Click, clack, he's gone. I'm not trust anything. Sam? Oh, they must not be home. I thought he was home a second ago. I just heard a thump. Yeah, get a shotgun. Fuck off with this nonsense. Of course you have the right to defend yourself. No one, and again, this is also supposed to be a fiction. This is slipping this in the middle of this stuff to try and get this gish gallop going on that if you throw in, they're also going to take away your ability to have a gun. That's why they're getting rid of the cops. So you can't even shoot back. Which is having the exact opposite. By the way, any area where they've defunded the police, gun sales have gone through the roof. And we know in our history that even though, like I said, there are 1 billion police interactions with citizens every year, that the record for random posses of angry citizens with guns is way better at, statistically when it comes to not harming an innocent person.
Do you believe that the IRS should be into my bank watching every transaction of $600 or more? No.
They're not. They aren't. The rule is if an account has more than $600 worth of activity through it, the bank has to let them know that this is an active account. If it's below that, they don't give a fuck. They don't want to hear about, they don't want filings from these banks of anything less than 600.
It's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. Everything is about the Bill of
Rights. Then file a lawsuit and go win it. Because it applies to everybody. Right? Hey, Gonzo. Right? Yeah? Go file a lawsuit. Knock yourself out.
You just need to start asking people, do you believe in the Bill of Rights? Let's go through them.
Yeah,
you believe in the Bill of Rights?
Yeah,
if you do, I'm with you. If you don't, I can't talk to you because the gulf is too far. You have moved. I haven't.
No, see, I believe in the Bill of Rights. My problem is that you are lying about standard legislation about infrastructure and economic policy as if it's a violation of it. This has nothing to do with the Bill of Rights. You are using a misinterpretation of current laws and current bills that are being passed about expenditures of the government to pretend that they violate rights in an effort to stop those bills from passing because they will work, they will help, they will be valuable to the people of America, and that is what you hate.
You have. Sorry, Bill of Rights, they are universal. They are the thing that we all agreed on.
No, they're not universal. We believe them to be universal because we're Americans. Worldwide, no. I honestly, go to Russia with your everybody should have a gun bullshit. Knock yourself out. Go door to door, dumb fuck.
If you can't agree with me on the Bill of Rights, then I'm not the enemy of America.
You're not the enemy of America. What? Run that by me again. If you can't agree with me on the Bill of Rights, you're not the enema of America? Sorry. This town needs an enema.
They are universal. They are the thing that we all agreed on. If you can't agree with me on the Bill of Rights, then I'm not the enemy of America. No matter what you say, I'm not the terrorist. You are.
Well, no, see, here's the thing, Glenn. You're creating a false choice. I think he gets 5 eggs. I think this is a 5 eggs level violation of reality and intellect.
5 eggs.
That's right.
5
Congratulations,
eggs in a month.
Glenn. Right out of the gate.
5 eggs.
And I have a Bongino clip I haven't even gotten to.
Eat 2 eggs a day. 5 eggs.
Yeah, so we're giving 5 eggs to Glenn, largely because he is trying a standard right-wing bait and switch on you. Because the infrastructure bill and the stuff that's in the reconciliation bill, anywhere where parts of it would violate reconciliation are being stripped out because it doesn't deal with the budget, things like DACA reform, all that kind of stuff. I don't give a shit if people in the House want you to think that they're fighting for those things by putting them in the reconciliation bill, because they won't pass. They do not qualify for reconciliation, so they're not going to pass, so you're being flim-flammed. Anytime a progressive politician tries to tell you that we got it in there and they stripped it out, is them lying to you. They are front-loading that stuff, and it is an attempt to make you think that they're fighting for this. If they're fighting for it, they will find creative ways of making sure that a bill that deals with it will get passed. That's not this. So in the case of Glenn Beck, though, he's using this idea that that these bills, though, violate the Bill of Rights. And therefore, if you're for them, you are an enemy of the Bill of Rights, and he is a champion of the Bill of Rights. And he is creating an artificial choice for you. He is presenting this, and it is a lie. Glenn Beck is a liar. Glenn Beck is lying on purpose, and he is threading like these, dog treat, wishes, like these areas where Republicans really, attach their teeth to and let the car drag them. He's threading them throughout this thing that he says is in this bill or in the infrastructure bill or what the infrastructure bill is meant to do. He is Alex Jonesing this shit to slow these things. And the reason he's doing it is not because they're a violation of the Bill of Rights, not because they're a violation of American sovereignty or freedom or any of that stuff. The reason he doesn't want the infrastructure bill to pass, the singular reason, is because it will be good for the country and people will know it. And also, I guess, subset, Trump couldn't get it passed, and therefore it will make Trump look even more pathetic than he was. That's why Glenn Beck doesn't want the infrastructure bill. And the reconciliation bill, they have ideas that, pre-K is communism and that our kids are being indoctrinated. He buys into that whole bullshit camp. But the infrastructure bill and largely even, and again, anything that's in the reconstruction, the reconciliation bill, beg your pardon, the Build Back Better plan that violates the Constitution will be stripped out. That part will be fought in court. Think ACA mandate, which I still think is a legal thing, but that got kicked out. The ACA still exists. Same thing with the Build Back Better plan. They'll pass it, and there will be parts of it that assholes like him will fight because they don't like what it does to the business community. And if the conservative court finds that it violates that piece, that bit will be stripped out. But the rest of it will stand. And they will desperately try to run on this idea that Biden's trying to destroy America.
I like wood.
Yeah, that's how most of them feel. And all of his stuff is like, look at this. This is a hostile takeover. All of this is selling this part. And for the record, I have met Glenn Beck once. Never spent any amount of time with him, but I did make him laugh at the table. He was listening to me talk at a table and backstage at Politicon. And I personally, before and after and during, believe him to be a clown, largely a showman, a Barnum and Bailey type. And as I sat there and I took a picture with him, I think I posted it a long time ago, and he's making this face when he takes a picture with me. And I took the picture because I think it's hilarious that Glenn Beck is even a thing. But he had to do like this because he didn't know who I was. He didn't know whether he was allowed to be in a picture smiling with me. That's why he didn't smile. Because it's a show. Even though I made him laugh, even though that he may have even, if he was being honest, agreed with what I was saying at the time, didn't know anything else about me. He had to protect his image of never smiling anywhere near someone like that. That's it, part of the shtick. And since then, that has become even more clear as I've watched his clips, as I've watched him kind of shape this Blaze Empire bullshit. And these guys, they built the Blaze on the broken clock theory for both right-wingers and left-wingers, and they hope that it will take. And in reality, it's a moneymaker. But it's worthless. It is absolutely, the Blaze serves no material function. It is a treadmill of bullshit ideas. Every single day. We drop a needle on this nonsense every few days or every couple weeks, and it's always the same stuff. And I take all of these things far too seriously to take an asshole like that seriously. Glenn Beck is a fundamentally inserious human being. Including his whole Afghan show, Nazarene Project thing, this whole, we got to get people out of Afghanistan, but they have to be Christians. In and of itself, an anti-Christian act. Exclusively getting Christians out of a war zone is not Christian. So, just to clarify, also dumb.